today. With me today are Janine B and Bridget D. This is your Daily Dose of Happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. And we were just chatting before the show about stuff going on with the recent Halloween holiday and changes in lives and so forth. And speaking of changes, I need to share a couple things. So first of all, people who have been listening for quite some time may remember about a year ago, I set up a Facebook group called Pivot Pals. And the purpose was to help people to meet, to help each other, give each other support and so forth. And it went okay for a bit, but I think people kind of lost interest. So, traffic just kind of came to a halt. And recently I had reason to think, well, maybe I should be, doing something to get a group going specifically for the podcast. And that one was the obvious choice. So today I renamed it. It is now the Law of Attraction, or if you will, Living Our Abundance group. It's the LOA Today Living Our Abundance group. So nice. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but I wanted to let everybody know, particularly people who were members of the Pivot Pals group. If you wonder where it went, well, that's where it went. It didn't disappear. It just kind of morphed.
There you go.
Oh, can't hear you, Jeanine.
Oh, yeah.
I am so sorry. Well, I honestly, I've been listening to you for a long time, and I've never heard this Pivot Pals.
Me either. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, same.
Maybe I missed that, but
like I said,
yeah,
it didn't really, go very far, and that's probably me because I didn't really push it really hard. But okay. Yeah, it was an idea that popped out of a podcast where we were talking about how can we support each other as we're doing stuff to grow, working on ourselves and so forth. And so I just kind of on a whim put that up, and I think we have 39 members in it. So some people kind of took advantage and did some stuff, but yeah, it just kind of died out. It didn't really go anywhere. So I know Jeffrey occasionally will do a little post in there, but it just hadn't really gone far. So I figured it was time to switch things up a little bit.
Yeah, why not?
What is it called again?
It's now called the LOA Today Living Our Abundance group. And in fact, I tell you what, I'll put a link in the chat here online, and I'll also put a link in the comments, or in the description section for the recording, so that anybody who wants to join in can do that. So yeah, join the group and let's figure out what to do with it. How we can move it forward, because right now I got nothing. I have no ideas.
I'm gonna check it out now.
I will. Bridget, you're gorgeous. You're always gorgeous, but you're just radiant today.
You're glowing. Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Is there something new? Something different? Something exciting?
No, just Taya.
Okay.
Just all things Taya, I believe.
Yeah, doesn't she? You're like glowing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, folks. I wish we could show you the glowing Bridget. Maybe you can see her.
Well, go to the LOA Today Facebook page or to the YouTube page. You'll see it there. But yeah,
there you go.
It's really remarkable. Beautiful. Because you have a window behind you, which is creating like this really bright light behind you, and yet you're still glowing. That's a truth.
And it's not even sunny out. Like, it is cloudy. I don't know why it even looks like that.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's been cloudy all day.
That's not outside. That's you.
That's you. Yeah.
Thanks,
And the other piece of news is that for those who aren't part of the Taya community, Janine graduated from Taya Boot Camp. Hooray!
Yay!
Fantastic.
That's
How does
awesome.
that feel to be a graduate now?
If it was kind of like when I graduated from high school. It was like, oh my God, what's next? No, it's kind of like that, but it's interesting because I would say a few days after we graduated, that's me, myself, and I. All
right.
I need some happiness right now. Yeah. As soon as I graduated, I woke up the next day and I'm like, okay, that was a wonderful experience. I'm definitely going to take with me. And now it's time for me to focus on my body. And I feel like really, I'm like compelled. I went out and visited a yoga studio. So I think I'm going to get back into yoga. I got an appointment at 3:30. And so Taya really made me that experience with Taya made me want to live more fully in my body.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I haven't been doing that. So I that's what I'm going to try to do. Well, no, I'm going to do. Yeah.
So do you have specific ideas in mind of how you're going to go about doing that?
Well, like I said, I'm going to I've got this yoga studio, which is, I vowed never to ever join a yoga studio and talk about attracting what we And I'm like, well, if that's what I want, because see, I blew out my foot a couple months ago, and I'm still trying to like, it's almost better. It's really gotten a lot better, but I want to start really walking again, and I can't walk very far. I can't. So there's a couple of things I want to concentrate on, like stretching and do. So it's very, I think it's the acknowledgement of wanting to really just be living in this world, in this planet, with my feet on the earth, because the spirituality comes, the spiritual aspect is really close and near and dear and easy to me. But the physical, it's like, I feel like, I'm walking through water on this earth, and I can feel the heaviness, not that I've gained weight or anything, but I mean, the heaviness of my existence here on this planet. And I want to, well, while I'm here, I might as well live in my body. So I want to get more, just enjoy myself a little bit more in my body.
And how cool that now that you're a Taya graduate, you have the tools to do that. You have the tools to make the mind shift and everything. I mean, it's great.
Well, right. And trusting like my next inspiration, because it was like, okay, you have to have physical stamina to if you're tackling a new project, you really need to have some kind of physical stamina too, right? There's like a certain amount of, you don't want to be exhausted. You don't want to be tired. So it's almost the Gestalt kind of aspect I'm taking with it. Just doing the spiritual, doing the mindset practice with Taya, the mindset practice, and now integrating my physical into this too.
Which makes sense.
Right.
Definitely makes sense. Especially since we know that everything originates in the mind. All the stuff we like, all the stuff we don't like at all originates in the mind.
Right.
So,
and it's not exclusive. It's all inclusive. It's all our bodies are part of our minds, are part of our spirit, are part of our everything. So
they all work together.
Right. Because I used to be like, just ignore the body, I'll go out and walk or go swimming from time to time. But I want to feel more energy. I want to feel the energy flowing more effortlessly through my body, because when your body's not really up to speed, it's painful. It can be really painful. And I think that's why I kind of blew out my foot too, is just the realization that, Jeanine, I love my feet on the earth. Jeanine, I just love to be on this earth. And if I can't walk, if I can't physically participate, I don't feel like I'm fully here. So it's important to me. So I have a 3:30 appointment to get my foot evaluated and to start some more therapy with that. And then I'm going to do my yoga. And not that I'm not going for like triathlon stuff, triathlete. No, I just want to I don't want to feel like I'm walking through water anymore. In this earth, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's a way of saying that you feel slowed down, and you don't want to feel slowed down.
No. Not at all.
So that's a good thing. That's really good. I just realized I had a law of attraction story to tell that I hadn't really thought of it as a law of attraction story, but it is.
Okay.
Of course, now that I have more free time, I'll be finishing up the Thai boot camp, but I also have been considering what other things I want to do, what other projects I want to engage in, and so forth. And listeners will know that I was one of the speakers at Selena Dorsey's recent LOA Today World Summit. And after that, she offered a course for people who are interested in learning how to do summits. I thought, that'd be kind of interesting, and checked out what she was offering and so forth. And I mean, I knew there was going to be a fee involved, and it was going to be fairly substantial because she was going to do some group coaching and so forth. And I said, I might be willing to pay like up to $500 or something like that. Well, it was $1,000. I said, okay, well, all right. It's still worth it. I know I want to learn what she's learned to do because she's really good at it. She's very, very successful with it. So I want to learn this thing. Okay, I'll do it. So I signed up. And lo and behold, when I was a speaker, I had an affiliate link. And I didn't realize that this was tied into my affiliate link. And the affiliate link gave me half of anything that anybody bought. So I got half back of what I bought, which means I paid a net fee of $500.
There you go, Walt. Oh my God.
And then you wish, and then you say, oh my gosh, I should have shot for $1,000. I should have gotten the whole thing. That's what I do all the time. I'm like, hey, thanks for the 500, but man, give me the other 5. No. That's good. That's awesome.
Funny,
That's
that was
a
just
cool
so funny.
story. I love that.
That is cool.
And what was I focused on? I was focused on 500. So that means That's what I got.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I got. Just not in the way I expected, which is the way many manifestations seem to work in life. I'm not quite sure why, but they do. Maybe just because we live in this soup that I've been talking about lately. But yeah, it was pretty cool. So it's actually part of. I've been trying to imagine different ways to kind of take LOA today to the next level, so to speak. Um, Obviously, a large portion of that starts with just getting myself into the right vibration and feeling good, and then putting out there, okay, I want to go to the next level. I don't necessarily know what it is, but help me to know what it is, and that kind of thing. But I've also been, anytime I feel inspired to follow up on something, I've been following up on stuff, and that's what led me to take this course that Selena was offering. And I keep going back in my mind to the same idea over and over again. Now, our listeners are generally very advanced with law of attraction, spiritual teachings, and so forth. So it's not like we have a whole bunch of listeners here who are beginners and need a lot of help. But that doesn't mean that there aren't people out there who don't fit that profile.
Right.
And I'm kind of thinking, well, that's the future LOA Today listener, find some way to reach out and help them. And so I keep going back in my mind. I've been doing this for years, going back in my mind. How do I help people who are struggling, who are trying to learn the stuff? They haven't quite got it down. I've tried reaching out through the social media groups. Sometimes you can reach people and help people that way, and that's good. But I keep looking for a more systematic way to do it. Because what I'd love to do is, and this is just kind of spitballing here. I'm not really saying this is an actual structure that I have in mind, but I'd love to be able to have some way to take each of our co-hosts who have fabulous skill sets, like take Cindy Chavez, for instance, and be able to help plug her into something where a whole bunch of people who need help understanding how to improve their relationships can, I don't know, take a course with her or something like that. And Cindy, if you're listening, I'm not volunteering you. Don't worry. I'm relax. I'm just giving you an example of how this could work. Because we have so much skill here. There are so many people who participate in the LOA Today podcast who bring so much to the table. And it's great that our listeners get to hear that and hear the stuff that they have to offer. I'm just looking for how can we get that out to more people? So I just keep, I don't have a specific plan in mind. I don't have any particular, nothing has popped and said, oh my goodness, you got to do this. This is going to be the way to, I don't have anything like that. I'm just kind of playing with it, seeing what
Does
happens.
it normally work best for you to have an exact thing in your mind, or is it best for you to just have a general thing of what you want and to just let it happen?
I'm still trying to answer that question for myself. I know that I have a tendency.
Hammering? Sorry, Walt. Are you sure you're not hammering on this? I mean, it's not to that point yet, right? Where you're not hammering.
No, it's not.
Okay,
a hammering.
okay. I'm just checking.
Well,
it out.
you could
just checking to see where you're at.
Describe it as a hammering, just because it keeps recurring to me. But it's not like I'm going out of my way saying I got to fix this. It's not that kind of thing.
Got it.
It's just it's a recurring idea that just keeps coming back. Like, what can I do? What can I do? And I don't know. What can I do? Give me some idea. Hey guys, give me a clue here. I have no idea.
Well, I can tell you for me that I've noticed, even when I'm on Nextdoor app and somebody's kind of put a question out, and there's just this draw for me to want to start explaining, well, what if we're spirit? What if, and it's kind of that same, maybe on a different level than where you're at, Walt, but just trying to get the word out there, trying to get more people to sort of understand. And then if I start to type something on this what Nextdoor app is, I suppose, perhaps a lot of people might.
I've seen it. I haven't really done a lot with it, but
yeah. I'm sorry.
I don't know what that is. What is that?
It's this really, I kind of like it, but a lot of people use it to kvetch, and to bitch about neighbors, but it's sort of a way for people in the immediate, in your neighborhoods to sort of talk,
Gotcha.
amongst each other.
So like a regional social media, if you will.
Right. Okay. But it's I think it's countrywide. I mean, you get things in Michigan and everything else all over, but so I have this desire to start doing this, and I start to type something no, it just, the desire is there, but the energy to do that isn't there because it's not really being it's being asked, but not in this way. And so if I start to do something and it starts to lose its biz, I just stop.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously it's not the right way. It's
Yeah.
not that there's right or wrong, but it's not the productive way to go.
It's
right?
not
Yeah,
the
you
one
can
that's
just feel.
resonating.
Yeah.
It's not the
Right.
one that feels good inside.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I get
That's
where you're coming
important.
from, Walt, wanting to get that
Yeah.
message out, wanting to bring in more, like beginners or more people who are
Not
ready.
even so much beginners. Yeah, exactly. That's it. People who are ready
Right.
to hear that new
Right.
piece of information. They're the ones that I want to reach. I mean, it's not easy to identify that. Marketers get paid a lot of money to identify those people. It's a challenge. It's a tricky thing to learn. But I also know the law of attraction can deliver anything. So just a question of formulating it right, I think.
Right.
At
So
least that's what I hope.
yes, I'm sitting here, and I don't mean to change the subject, but I'm looking at Bridge, and there's something about you, Bridge. There's something, I don't know if it's my psychic spidey tingly thing, but I don't know. It's like you're on the verge of some like new venture or new thing. Like I just feel that.
Oh,
for
good.
you.
Keep feeling it.
Like you're gonna go off into another completely different direction. But there's something there that's just very like, okay, I'm just gonna be just honest and
Do
straight
it.
out.
I like honest. Do it.
Like, if I were to have met you on the street, I would say, oh, well, congratulations, you're pregnant. It's that same kind of energy. I'm not saying you are, but it's that same like newness energy. That's like, there's a new thing starting. And
I like that.
So I just wanted to, sorry, Walt, I don't mean to.
No.
I
That's
just wanted
quite
to
all
put
right.
that out there because I'm like, wow, you're just glowing, and there's, yeah.
Yeah, I
Very
can feel
super
some
cool.
new beginnings. I'm not exactly 100% positive on spot on what they are, but I can feel them. So I'm glad you
Awesome.
can too.
Ooh.
More
Do you feel like-
confirmation. I love that.
Do you feel like that's coming out of the work you're doing in Taya, or is that coming out of something else, or do you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like in general, like I started, working on myself, but I think Ty is a humongous part in, everything in my life changing. Yeah, relationships, how I react to things, how I look at things, how I treat things, like the littlest things. Like I thought, like the whole no judgment thing. At first I was like, I don't judge people. I don't care what people look like. I don't care about their hair. I don't care what they're wearing. Like, I don't judge people. No, like judgment. Like I would be like, oh, I hope they don't do that so they get better and they're not sick. And it's like, that's still me judging their experience and whatnot. Like they can do whatever they want. And you know what I mean? Ty's just made me look at things totally different and just feel so different about so many important aspects, like death, like just everything. So
Yeah. It shakes you up.
Yeah.
It shakes up your old worldview in a dramatic way. I mean, all the old preconceptions just kind of disappear from when you have that stream perspective, because that's what you're getting is the stream perspective, the source energy perspective.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, things make more sense again to me. Like, they did before and they do again, and yeah, it feels great. So
that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody coming through Taya who hasn't had that, but it's really cool.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah. I mean, if you don't, I guess it's just not, I guess you just weren't putting the work in, or you're not feeling it, or whatever it is. But it resonated with me right away. So
that's exactly what David has told me. Good. But that is exactly what David Strickland
I have
told me.
my check-in tomorrow. I think is it
good.
your 6-week check-in? Yeah. So I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited. Yeah.
Oh, there's nothing to be nervous about.
Yeah.
Are you doing it with David or with Stacy or who are you doing?
Yeah, with David. Yeah.
David. Okay. Yeah.
I used to be nervous sometime too, and then it's just now I'm so used to being on Zoom and so used to being on the camera. But I honestly, like before Taya, I wasn't really used to ever being on.
Oh God, me either,
on video. It's let alone hearing my voice coming through.
Yes.
I mean, that was hard to wrap my head around.
I love how we like hear our voices totally different. I'm like, I sound like that. I say it all the time to my husband. I'm like, really? Yeah. But I don't know. It's like I'm excited. I'm only nervous. I feel like because it is with David, and my last 1 or 2 has been with Stacy, and like I don't know. It's my 6-week check-in, so I'm like, oh, what do you expect? Type of thing, So
Yeah, all they're really doing is just trying to make sure that you're getting out of the course what you paid for and what you're trying to accomplish and all that kind of stuff.
Which
If
is
you're stuck on it,
awesome.
if you're stuck on something, that I think it's probably what they're really looking for. If you're stuck on something, or you're having trouble staying, you're down the spiral a lot or something like that, they want to help you climb out of it.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean,
It is.
that kind of
For sure.
one-on-one is really helpful.
I still have to put together my stuff to become a mentor. And I thought I was going to be willing, or not willing, but I thought I was going to be like jumping right into it. And it's just
And you're not.
Oh, no, I'm not.
It's been like a slower process type of thing.
Yeah. Okay. It's just, I think I just want to be where I'm at for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like I said, just to sort of get in back in touch with my body and get that going. But I'm thinking about it. I'm formulating it. It's in my mind.
Plus, it's not like you have to stick with, well, this was the affirmation I set for myself last week, so I have to stay with that one. I can't change it. I'm not allowed to redirect my thinking. No.
Yeah.
You can change your mind anytime you want to.
Well, exactly. There just feels also to be some things on the horizon for me, and I'm not sure exactly where I want to go and what I want to start committing to. Mm-hmm. So it's best to just take it slow.
Yeah. Yep. No, you're right. 100%. Yeah.
I mean, for me anyway, right? I'm right for me.
Well, yeah.
For anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, thank goodness. Otherwise, life would be pretty boring if we had to do what we thought about 5 years ago. You are not allowed to deviate from the path. That doesn't work. How could it possibly be called creative if you're not allowed to create along the way?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Are you trying to have more fun with like manifesting or anything like that now that you're just like, done with boot camp? And
well, to be honest with you, I've been like, I want to be happy and up, but I've been fighting like a migraine for probably a better part of a week. So and I graduated on Wednesday. So it's my migraines don't just come and then go. They just come and they stay. And it's like a kind of a low level, but it's telling me to slow down and just don't move yet. Now is not a
that makes sense because you said you want to be more in your body. So yeah, that makes sense. Your body's like, hey man.
And one of the things that I really got out of my time with Taya and is the realization that to trust myself, to really trust it. Because, for example, when I was trying to pick out the pool guy, the first guy I talked to, I knew it was the right guy. It was just like, boom. But it took me 6 weeks to talk to a pool guy. Is my husband's like, hey, you got a pool guy yet? It's like, no, not yet. You got a pool guy? No, not yet. Not ready. And it looks like I'm not doing any work, but it's just like, no, not feeling it. Oh, I'm feeling it. There it is. And it's just, and it's like, I don't doubt myself. It's just really, and so I know it's a waiting period. It's just a waiting period. I feel like I'm in the airport.
Yeah. Not a bad airport though. Hey, airports can be good, right?
Not LAX. No.
There we go. Yeah.
Sorry, anybody from LA, but your airport sucks.
I'm sure they know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right. No, but yeah. So, anyway, there was something else I wanted to talk to you guys about, and maybe somebody listening would pick up on it. But do you notice that there's been a lot more like UFO sightings in the last like 6 months? I mean, it's been a lot more. It's been out there a lot more, on the news, on mainstream, and then my father had an experience a couple of weeks ago, and he took pictures, which is
that's awesome,
which is really incredible. And then when I sat down on Halloween, my husband and I finished planning our trip. We're going to Puerto Rico next year. And nice. That was another thing. Yeah. He put it in my lap to do the whole thing. And 2 months later, he's like, hey, have you done
Oh my God, I love it.
I don't even
with a trip to there, you're like,
No, we didn't know where we wanted to go. We were on the fence. It wasn't 2 months, but it was I don't know where we want to go. We have this amount of time and let's, like where we're going to go. And so we were finishing up all the details on Halloween, and we have this camera going by the front door. And I'm just kind of looking at it while he's scrolling through something and writing something down. And I saw something in the camera, like, whoa, what was that? And and I'm going through the video right now, looking to see if I can see it. But it was like something that I had seen before, and it on YouTube or something. And it just starts making me think that, are we all putting this energy out there? And so this stuff is, like David says, if it's not of this earth, then we really can't see it, right? Because it's not in our vibrational reality. We're not in the same vibration. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Walt.
I don't see it. Well, you're talking about somebody who doesn't see it. I'm not seeing it. You say all these UFO stories have been popping up. I haven't seen a UFO story in like 5 years.
Are you serious?
I'm not kidding.
I haven't seen a bunch like Janine, but I haven't seen like none. Like, whoa! I mean, I've only seen a few, but it's because I like don't pay attention to it as much anymore, because like I already believe in them. I already think aliens are real. I'm already like, dude, UFOs are out there, man. So I don't pay attention to it as much. But I mean, I've heard about it, but not like super crazy like recently, but I've definitely heard about it.
Well, it's not like I'm following it and I'm listening to the news stories. It's more like I'm scrolling and there I see it, or I go to my mom's house and she's, hey honey, I got to show you something. And she shows me this video, and then my father having his experience. And so I'm not actually, I'm co-creating this in some extent, because I'm noticing it. It's in my, it's in my sphere.
I mean, if it's Facebook, they're co-creating too, because all you have to do is respond in some way at all by even clicking on to read
exactly
UFO, and all of a sudden you got 25 UFO articles. So
no, you're right. So that brings it. But see, my parents had, when we were younger, we traveled around a lot, and we had a Jeep, and we got stuck in the North Rim of the Grand Canyon. This was back in the 70s.
You got stuck?
And we got stuck. Like the Jeep got stuck in a marshy area. It was really weird. We could hear the coyotes. We were there like overnight.
Oh my God.
And my parents had an experience my parents both had an experience where they saw something come down, and like
that's so cool.
Yeah. So it's already in my pool of reality.
Yeah.
And so, but I just was wondering if anybody else, and obviously not you two, you have not had.
I realized that
not like out of the norm.
I realized that I said something incorrect. I said I hadn't seen anything in 5 years. Actually, about 2 to 3 years ago, Linda Armstrong, when she was on the show, brought up this topic, and I'd forgotten about it, but she did bring it up. Yeah. And
okay.
I mean, and she was kind of into it. She was following some stuff that, for me, it was too far off the wall for me. I just couldn't, develop an interest in it. But she was really into it.
She was such a good one too.
Oh yeah. I'm very energetically intuitive too. Oh my goodness. But I think a lot of this has to do with the way our brains are structured. I mean, the RAS system, right? The fact is, if you're focusing on something to some degree, you'll keep seeing more of it. It's
of course.
Like, I just bought a new car, so I keep seeing
green cars. Yeah, green cars, blue cars, the Honda Fits and the Porsches. Yeah, no, I get that, and plus, so I mean, by me paying attention to it, might be by me looking at it, I'm contributing to the existence of it in some way, at least in our reality. So I'm not above and beyond that, but it's just like, oh gosh, another UFO sighting. It's like I'm in the line at the store, and there it is on the newsstand, or people are talking about it, or I open my phone and there it is. It's almost like too much.
So you're just seeing it everywhere.
Everywhere. And now I'm seeing things too. So there you go.
So let me ask you what your perspective is, because I can kind of generalize, there are two perspectives that people have where UFOs and aliens and so forth are concerned. There's what I'll call the ET, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, very friendly kind of view about aliens. And then there's the movie Alien, which is like, oh my God, they're taking over the earth, and those are like the two extremes. So it's basically the fear group and the excited, interested group. And I'm curious, where do you fall on that?
Okay, I'm trying to put this, because I I want to put it like another subsector.
Oh, okay. Well,
to
you know,
that.
those are my groups. You can make whatever group you want.
Another little subsector, because talking with David and being in Taya and just seeing this, I realized that it's not really linear, right? I mean, it's not really the good guy, the bad guy, or it's not that it's not necessarily that they're getting in their spaceships and traveling, over universes. I think that there's so much more that we're just beginning to understand. I believe that they do exist, but maybe it's a interdimensional kind of time travel, the way that they're able to do it. But I don't buy into either one of them. Are they good? Are they bad? Are they aliens? Are they going to jump out of our stomachs? Are they Twinkies? Because I like Twinkies. They could be in Twinkies. They could be junk food. I don't know. They could be in there. They could be in my body already. Ice cream. But I mean, I don't know. Why do you hear so many things when they've been abducted and this and that's happened, and that's been their experience? I have no doubt that they've had that experience.
Sure.
But what is it really? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, could they be just here already and we can't see them because we're not able to see them with our eyes?
Or are they here and we do see them and we don't know?
That's right. And they look like your neighbor.
Who knows?
That's fun.
You never know.
I have no idea, Walt. I mean,
so should I wait to see if my neighbor's going to come over and peel his skin off to show me what the real inside is looking like or something? The glowing white light or whatever?
No, I think they're smarter than us. They're not going to reveal themselves. No.
It could be. I mean, we seem to kill everything as a human race. So maybe they're like, we'll observe these ones from a distance.
Come down, check on us, make sure we're not ruining anything. They're like, okay, we're good for a second. We can go.
I was just wondering if anybody else was having that. Jeffrey's not commenting, maybe not watching. So I don't know. I can't see comments. Oh, there's comments.
Joe B said hello.
I don't know why I can't see any.
I can't see any either. Oh yeah, I see.
I never can. I don't know. I think my thing's weird.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe. So yeah, I think that there's so much that we just don't. I like how David has been saying in the podcast that we're starting to chase the tail of the technology that created us, because that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
That really makes perfect sense.
Joe commented, I wish they would teach us to teleport. Commute home would be much quicker.
That's coming, Joe. That's coming. It is. It's coming. I really, not in our lifetimes, but
I know, right? But it will.
I think Star Trek was onto something, man. It's going to happen. It's already put out there, right? Somebody put it out there already.
Well, people are also taking advantage of those science fiction type ideas. I mean, that came up in a conversation just yesterday. Elon Musk is famous for the fact that virtually every project he works on was inspired by a sci-fi book that he read when he was a kid in South Africa.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it's all out there.
Yeah. And he's trying to make it real because he just loved all the different ways that the science fiction authors stimulated his imagination.
Oh, wow. So he just believed in the unimaginable, and that's why he did what he did. Good for him.
Exactly, and that's why he continues. That's why he continues to push the idea that we can go to Mars and in this lifetime and make it a commercially successful venture and everything else. Yeah, because he believes it, and he believed it because he was told it.
Right, and the energy was out there, and he was in the right place to be able to pick it up and run with it.
Mm-hmm.
I will say when I'm migraine-y like I am, that's when I tend to see, if I'm going to see something, I tend to see things, or so I don't know if they're that's just when I'm a little more sensitive.
Do you see energy more when you're in this kind of a state? You do. Okay.
Yeah, physically, with my eyes. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's when I can sense energy. I can feel it if it's by me, or just today I felt something, but I don't have to be in a migraine state, but there's something, I think that there's some, I'm not allowing I think there's some not allowing going on, and
Oh.
right, and that manifests physically for me. That manifests as headaches. It manifests as sinus issues. It, migraines. And so I go, oh, okay, I'm not allowing, and which makes sense. I just graduated from boot camp. I'm like, new world, slow down. So I'm not caught. My physical self is not caught up yet with
Yeah, you're still
everything that I've gone
integrating it.
through. Right.
Because I mean, there's a lot of learning that you go through about yourself, about how to understand things differently and so forth. It's a big shift. What do they call it? They call it the rewriting of your personal operating system. And rewrite the operating system, it gets to be pretty big shift, pretty big changes going on. Oh, Joe has an interesting thing here. Let me pop it up on screen so we can look at it. He says, someone said it, and it's so true. It's like when a wide receiver in football, or any athlete for that matter, makes an incredible play and they say, unbelievable. Nope, it is believable. We just saw it.
Right. Right. I mean, that's why we can't, I don't ever poo-poo anyone else's experiences. If they say that happened to me, I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, who am I to say, no, it didn't happen to you? I'm not judgy like that. Some people might think I'm just gullible. If somebody told me that they were born in a banana boat heading to Sweden and this happened and that happened, I'm like, okay, that happened to you. That's cool. That's exactly right. We can't be judgy because everybody, we have our own perceptions.
No, we can't be judgy. It just gets in the way. I mean, seriously, that's what happens. It just gets
especially when we do it with ourselves and we do think things are unbelievable for ourselves when really we're capable of anything that we want to be capable of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's true. Thank you, Bridge. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean,
there was a time when I would have said that it was impossible for me to sense energy, and now I can on demand. I can feel energy with my left palm. And I'm not a Reiki master. I have no Reiki training at all. I got a hold of a Reiki page one time and started applying it with my wife because she had migraines, among other things. I was helping her to clear that out. And my God, all I have to do is run my hand, like an inch or two off her body, and I can feel where the energy is pooling up. I can feel where the energy is flowing. It's like, holy crap.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, that is super cool, Walt.
And no one can tell me that I'm not feeling it because I know I feel it. It's like, oh, wow, this is not like, kind of indeterminate. Like, is it there? No. This is like, whoa, yeah, it's right there.
That is awesome.
It is. And I'm still getting used to it. Every once in a while, we'll watch the movie, what was it? The Celestine Prophecy. And they get to the point in the movie where they're seeing energy in the plant life and so forth. And after the movie, almost every single time, I can look around the room and I can start seeing energy around things. I can't do it continuously after that, but there's usually like a short period of time where I can start seeing auras, for lack of a better term. And it's cool.
Yeah. Jeanine, can you?
Yeah, well, that's part of the problem with migraines is it innately you just see auras anyway because of but I still think, I think that it's just me not allowing my energy, but I have been able to see, I have been actually, even today, I've been seeing, because it's not always colored. Auras don't always have to be colored. Mm-hmm. It's just sort of a kind of this outline. For me, it's an outline around a person, and it's varying. Okay. It varies depending on the person. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's like, it varies depending on the person. And I'm not saying this to freak you out, Bridge, so don't get freaked out about this.
No, I love this.
I'm just going to say this, that like sometimes when I look at the elderly, God, I love my elderly people. I just love working with the elderly. I do. And I can walk into a room and I can look and I can see who's shining. Mm-hmm. And chances are within a couple of weeks, they're going to pass away. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is. It's just their energy becomes, not all the time, but it's like, sometimes I'm disarmed by it. It's like, whoa, she's shining.
Like thrown off by it?
Yeah, I'm thrown off by it because it makes me think that their time is a little bit closer. So yeah, seeing auras is it's not always pleasant for me because if I'm having a lot of headaches, I don't want to really see it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right.
Understandable. We have another comment. This one's from Todd. This is interesting. He says, I can see like the heat coming off of the ground, but it goes into like a wind spiral. It's like I'm looking at the energy inside the air, but it's kind of it's like the heat of the air
Mhm.
as well, and it's causing it to form clouds on the ground just around my feet and out into the distance. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few years back, I had another co-host named Wendy Dillard, who had a friend. She was actually at that point a roommate, who sees energy all the time. Like literally, she sees every energetic pattern you can see. She sees heat, light.
Mhm.
She sees source energy. She sees all of it. And the interesting thing about her is that, like most people who have an unusual skill like that, she didn't know it was unusual. It took her many years to finally find out that other people weren't seeing what she was seeing. And
Interesting.
from her perspective, that's just the way the world is put together.
Mhm.
And think about that. Think about what it's like to grow up. It's kind of like growing up by David Strickle, right? David grew up being able to have this connection with Source and to basically do channeling to himself. And he thought everybody else could do it. He found out they couldn't all do it. Then he thought, well, then I must have invented this thing, which was later called law of attraction. Well, he didn't invent it either. But imagine what that's like to grow up with that kind of perspective of I have this ability to do something, and finding out later other people don't have it, and like, wow, that's really something. How come I can see it and they can't? How come I can do it but they can't? How come I can
that would
feel
be
it but they
wild.
can't?
But that's kind of true on all aspects, though, because it might not be energy, but I mean, I'm sure there's something about you that's innately that really it's for you, Walt. Like nobody else around you experiences that. So I mean, it might not be energy, and it might not be seeing light from people, or it might not be whatever, but it might be something that you have such a skill. I mean, there's so many different aspects, right? There's a energy. There's physical. There's the people who are piano masters when they're 5. It's like we all have something.
Yeah.
Every one of us is unique. Every single one of us is unique in our own way. And I just love meeting people and finding and just kind of just allowing the best part of them to come out with me.
I like that.
So I can really see who they are and acknowledging them for that. And it's just it's fabulous. So it's just seeing energy. Yeah, okay, that's one thing. But I mean, Walt, you've got your special talents. Bridge, you've got your special things too. And it's not necessarily separate.
And it's not necessarily something you even know.
Right.
It's not something you're aware that that's something that I actually know that somebody else doesn't know. I think anybody who has an empathic ability has encountered that. I know that there are times I can walk into a room and I can instantly tell what everybody's feeling. And I'm kind of amazed that not everybody else is getting it. Like, you're not getting that, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just along that lines. I used to live in China when I was younger, and my family and I we were checking out this really old building to see if we wanted to live there. I was a teenager. I graduated from high school, and at the time, so I was just sort of along for the fun ride of living in a foreign country. And we all checked out these longhouses in this one really very popular tourist destination in Beijing. And we all sort of individually walked through each room. And then afterwards, we all gathered together, the 6 of us or 7 of us or whatever. I have so many brothers and sisters. And we talked like, did you see what happened? Did you see that in that room? Yeah. How it came from that corner and how, this happened. And we knew the haunted rooms. We knew which room was going to be haunted. And let me tell you, they were haunted because I stayed in those rooms myself. And, so it was like that energetic imprint was already there and we could all read it. And just being the same family, I suppose we all have that, maybe some of that same, abilities. But it was just funny that we all talked about it, that we, and the same thing repeated itself with my father. Like my father and I years later, when we were in the same building and did you see that there was a window? Did you see the blood on the wall? Did you see we could just I could just see this like I walked into a scene of it happening, or like an aftermath of something, blood on the wall, the window used to be here.
That's crazy. And you all saw the same thing.
Yeah. We could see the same thing. So it's just and it wasn't like we were influencing each other. We just, oh, that room was creepy. Yeah, it was creepy, right? It was creepy. Did you get, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
That's
energy
interesting
is like,
too, because
yeah.
it also is a confirmation. Because now you don't feel like you're crazy because your other family members saw the same thing or they felt the same thing or whatever.
Right. So
Whereas if you're the only one,
right.
then you say you kind of discount it because, well, you don't want to be, strange or something.
Well, exactly. And we all grew up believing this, we all grew up sort of just kind of experiencing so many of the similar things that I knew that I was never crazy because I could always go to my mom and say, hey, this happened. Or, my mom had so many experiences too. So you're right, Walt. It's nice to grow up in a family where I wasn't the weirdo. And that when I became a Reiki master, when I started working because I've been working with energy ever since I was a little kid, it was just embraced by my parents because we were just on the same sort of
that's awesome
viewpoint or the same sort of path with that. So yeah, my heart goes out to people who are individually there by themselves without their support of their whole family, which is probably more people than not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think about that kind of person specifically when I think about what I talked about earlier, wanting to help people who are looking for help and aren't sure how to get it.
There you go.
Yeah.
You circled back. I love it, Walt. That's awesome.
But that does that, and it also makes it hard to find that person because they're not terribly socially connected. So much of what we rely upon in order to find people like that is to rely on their social connections. Today, more than ever because of social media, but even true in the past before there was the internet, it was still the same phenomenon, just didn't happen as quickly. But we depend on those kinds of connections. So if somebody is not connected, how do you find them?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it goes back to like they have to be looking for you. They have to want it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that's where it becomes helpful to understand you can attract that kind of thing into your life.
Yeah, they'll come.
Yeah. It's still a challenge though. Every few days, not often, but every few days I was like, geez, I wonder if there's something I'm not doing, something I could do. Most of the time I just shrug it off because I can't think of anything, but sometimes.
I think do you give yourself enough credit for what you already do?
I think there will be people who will say that I don't. I think I am better at it than I was before. I mean, when I started the podcast, I don't know how to describe this. When you have like 25 listeners or less, and your first 20 episodes, you have like 3 listeners, so it's really, really small. It doesn't feel like you're supported. It doesn't feel like you've got any kind of reinforcement saying this is all worthwhile. Yeah,
you have to be your own cheerleader.
And the fact that
that's not easy.
Right. And the fact that you've carried on with this because you really wanted to do this, even though you weren't supported. I can't tell you how
it's even bigger.
Yeah, that really is a beautiful thing. I just want to tell you because it's your inane. It's who you are inside. It's like the real you's coming out.
Yeah, I love that you kept going too with no. That would make you feel very, not defeated, but it would just make you feel like, all right, well, I only have a few, but no, you kept going.
Defeated could have definitely, I could easily have given in to the defeated feeling because the feeling was definitely there.
Okay.
There is no doubt that the feeling was there. I think
you kept going.
The reason I kept going was just because of what I've said so many times. I got stuff out of it. I figured, well, maybe no one else is going to listen, but I'm listening. I'm talking to these really cool people. I'm learning all this cool stuff, so maybe it's just an excuse for me to learn stuff. I kind of went at it that way, and that's how I was able to get through.
So you did it for you, but you wound up helping you and like a bunch of other people you never even probably thought you would reach. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you, one of the greatest experiences for me where doing the podcast concerned has been when I have met people like you who are listeners. I mean,
that's super cool.
That's huge. Oh,
yeah.
It's hard to describe how big that is. It's really, really big, especially when you've been in that other place where nobody's listening. And now all of a sudden to know people are listening. And
that warms my heart. Well, that warms my heart.
Well, good. I'm glad. It warmed my heart when I found out that people were actually there.
Yeah.
And even better that they were not only liking it, but people were learning stuff out of it, which I mean, of course it makes sense. You bring on enough people who have a whole bunch of really cool stuff to share. Of course, people are going to learn when they listen. But even so, to find out they really were learning, they really were benefiting from it, that was just, it continues to be a really cool feeling.
Yeah.
Every time I think about that. I get that every time I talk to you guys, every time I talk to anybody who was a listener before and became a co-host, for instance, that's a huge deal.
Yeah. You know? I mean, I know there's plenty of podcasts that I started out listening to that I no longer do, but LOA is still one of them. So
well, thank you.
That is so true, because there's so many podcasts that just, I mean, they talk and it just, they're just talking, and it just doesn't resonate with me. But I can listen to like your episode yesterday, and you were just,
which wasn't about anything, by the way.
Yeah, you guys were talking.
Yeah, and it was still same. Yeah, and I loved Fridays too. Cool. Fridays, they were.
Friday was fun. Yeah, with Kirk Nerman.
That was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah,
that was interesting. Some of his beliefs were it didn't resonate with me, but it was interesting to still listen to him.
Yeah.
And see, okay, I see where he's at. He's here. He believes in this, and you know, personally, I think we can have instant manifestations.
Oh, of course.
We can have instant body healings. We can lose weight by eating junk food healthy. I've done it before.
Doesn't mean that it's the easy way to go.
No, but... and then you know, and I will say the downfall of that is if you are experiencing some vibrational where you're DTS and stuff, it will revert. It's you know we're being maintained at our higher physical level because we're you know as far as like health wise, because we're up our spiral, but we can always go down our spiral and cause the same problems. We're not like you know immune from that. So I mean, some of the things like listening to him, I'm like, you know, thanks for sharing your viewpoint, but I don't agree with it. Yeah. And so I was like, nope, but okay, still listening. So super cool. I love it. Yeah. Everybody's where they're at, right? We can't change that.
Yeah, there's a little Homer Simpson in all of us going, nope.
Not quite where we're at. Not quite, but and it's thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that, because I was like, oh, I got to talk to Walt about this. Yeah. And here we are talking about this. So
I can't tell you how many times I've interviewed somebody or had a guest on, or even talked with a co-host where they were saying something I just didn't agree with, but I learned so much by listening anyway.
Oh yeah.
That's the way I always look at it. Like, I don't have to agree with you, but maybe you're going to have a perspective that I wouldn't have because I don't have that particular viewpoint you're talking about.
Yeah.
Hi, Marissa.
Hey, Marissa, how you doing?
Hey. Yeah, you're right. And that's what I appreciate about you also, Walt, is that I can almost sense, because I've been listening to you long enough, when you don't fully agree, but you're never disrespectful. You don't have that need to stand up for what you believe in. It's just like, hey, good, cool. You believe in that. I believe in this. Awesome. We're good. You just allow space for other people. And that's just,
thank you. I mean, because that's not something that came easy to me. That I learned that doing the podcast. When I first started the podcast, really? I wasn't in that same space. That I've learned that over time. So I really appreciate you saying that. That tells me, I've done that growing. That's good.
Well, that's kind of why you're successful. I mean, as far as I think you're successful with it, because you are so open-minded and willing to entertain other perspectives and be present, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's happened simply because I did have the experience of interviewing people who I didn't agree with, and they gave me stuff that was useful. You do that often enough, and it becomes easy. It's not like I had to work on it. It's not like I had to sit down and say, that last podcast, I really didn't give that person much space. I got to work on it. That didn't happen at all. What happened was I would talk to person X. Person X would say something I didn't agree with, but it had a really interesting corollary to it. I paid attention to the corollary, tried it again with another person, same kind of a situation, different topic, but same kind of experience. And that happened over and over again. And then finally, it's like, well, geez, why am I even considering interrupting? I get all these golden nuggets every time I just shut up. So it wasn't hard to learn. It wasn't hard to learn at all, but I'm really grateful to know that I learned it well. So thank you for that.
It's super.
Yeah, no, you're very good at that.
And it also works nicely with, I've said this a few times, I really appreciate my dad. My dad passed away, let's see, was it about 13 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
And it was an easy transition for me. I think it was for him too. But there's also the piece of me that, of course, misses him and wants to be able to talk with him and so forth. But the one thing I'm really grateful for is that my dad taught me how to ask questions. And that is like, for a podcast host, that's like the most valuable skill.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. It's just huge. It really is.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I can describe how I learned. It's not like my dad sat down and said, okay, I'm going to teach you how to ask questions. He didn't do that. He just did it by example. You know, so, you know, you
like
just
they tell us
learn
in
just by
time.
watching him. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But he was relentless. He was just relentless. He was always respectful about it. You know, he would always be very nice about it. But if he didn't get the answer he wanted, he'd ask the next question, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then and he would just relentlessly go after it until he finally got the information he was looking for.
Good for him. Sometimes I give up too early, and I'm like, oh, you were just a pushover, Bridget. You know, you just took that answer you knew wasn't even right.
But that's part of it right there, knowing that it doesn't resonate. That's what you mean by it isn't right. Like, it just you could tell it didn't feel right to you. And that's part of how you learn the skill. Just by you notice that and you recognize and say, okay, well, that didn't feel right. What do I want to do with that?
Right. Yeah. Let me change that.
Yeah, and you will at time. You know, after a time, you're
oh, I already have, like, but not like 100%. But I've already,
You'll do it more here on the show, just because you'll hear stuff that doesn't quite work for you. You'll just find a way to get to where you want to be, because that's what growing is all about.
I like how you circle back too, and Bridget, you're really good at that too. I get lost on a meandering trail sometimes.
I feel like I get lost.
I got to get better at circling back, but you circle back and you're like, okay, so let's talk more about that, or let's get a little bit deeper in that, or that's interesting. I find that interesting.
I think you're going to learn that really quick just being here on the show, because what happens is you're talking, we're having a conversation. We're kind of doing this extemporaneously, right? But it's not like we planned any of this out, and you want to get a thought out or a point out, right? And your mind is saying, okay, where do I go with this? And then your heart is saying, go here. And you realize, oh, here is where we were 25 minutes ago. That's how it works for me. It's not like I'm hanging it in my mind, like, okay, I got to circle back. That's not what happens.
Yeah.
Okay. What happens is I ask myself, okay, what does it feel like I need to go to next? And sometimes as I'm saying it, in the middle of saying it, I realize, oh yeah, we talked about that 10 minutes ago. So I'm going, like we said 10 minutes ago. I mean, that's the way it comes out, you know.
Yeah,
but,
interesting.
Yeah, it's just it's all about making and maintaining and developing that connection, that internal connection.
Love it.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all these people we have.
I know.
Marissa, Todd, Joe. I mean, and who knows who else might be listening.
Oh, Marissa, I wish she puts it up 4 minutes before the show is over. There's a whole conversation there. I have trouble too with pushing my opinions on others. My God, we could talk about that one for a while.
That could be a good topic for next week if we don't have time today.
Yeah. It's really it's a skill to overcome that, and it's an important skill to learn.
I don't know. The pushing part doesn't really necessarily quite resonate with me. I don't want to push it.
No. I'm not saying that you want to push. I'm saying it's a skill to learn to not push, to not.
Yes.
Impose.
Oh yeah. To not, because I used to be the same way, Walt. I probably, I know a year ago even, I probably wouldn't have been as much of a conversationalist as I am now, because like, nope, that's not right. That's not right. Nope. And it's really like, you have to learn this sort of, or just back off and let people talk. And I used to just be right there. And so I'm always like keeping myself in check, make sure I'm not, getting too pushy or overwhelming or
Let's make a note to talk
judgy
about
for
that one next
myself.
week, because I think
Okay.
you're right,
Yeah.
Bridget. I think that is a good topic.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right.
Let's do
Well,
it.
thank you, ladies. This has been wonderful.
Thank you
as
so much,
usual.
guys.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you to the live streamers as well. And thank you to our podcast listeners
Yes,
everywhere.
thank you all.
We will see you all next time here on LOA Today.
Love
Goodbye, everybody.
everyone. Bye.
Yeah.